So what I'd like to share, we're going to add to it as we go too. So everybody chime in at your leisure if you want, because we're going to definitely add to it as well for what this year is going to look like for the 4 key target markets. And we're going to add more to it. Any of these presentations that we do during the week, you can absolutely use the PowerPoint, use the transcriptions, use the recording, redo your own PowerPoint, however you like. Put some of this stuff in the AI and the marketing portal, have it rewritten for you, but it is yours to use whenever you like. So for our 4 key target markets, oh, I just moved it. Now, can y'all see it? Everybody good? All right. One thing this year absolutely is going to be the first-time home buyer. And we're going to address a little bit more on how to work with the first-time home buyer. Even myself, in the past few weeks, in having conversations with agents, with first-time home buyers, with loan officers, is we have to really get back down to the basics with the first-time home buyer. And what I mean by that is we have to dummy it down as if you are 18 years old, graduating from high school, thinking about holding down a real job and buying a house. You know, what would that person need to know? So this first-time home buyer that is in this market we are in is not really the repetitive buyer, and also not the one who has been educated the most by personal touch. Maybe some by internet, but maybe not as much by personal touch. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that too as well. Investor loans. Oops, sorry. My mouse is just being a little funky. Investor loans, this year we're going to see more people jump into the investor space, the commercial space, investing their money in real estate, taking it out of some stocks, some bonds, some 401ks, and going into some investment loans. Construction loans. Maybe not in every single area, but we're in the Hampton Roads area, so we have nowhere else to build but on water, so we're not going to be financing houseboats. However, in the other markets we are in, new construction is out there like crazy. So you're going to notice the metro areas are going to be expanding out and out and out. So everything is going to seem so close, but yet it's like when I go home and go to Fredericksburg and I think about, we lived 8 miles out of town. My parents used to fuss, oh my God, we got to take y'all in town. It was so far, right? But now going 8 miles out of town to 8 more miles where that new construction site is, to most people is around the corner, right? So, and then listing agent. So Kristen, can you change that to listing/selling agents? Because in some markets, selling agents to them are the buyer's agent. So let's just all agree to do listing agents. So we're going to change that to listing agents. So these are 4 key markets, and we're going to come back and add to this after we talk about it. So the first time home buyer, one of the things we have put together for you is My Borrower Story. And that's in our customer workflow for you for our onboarding and what we do for our processing flow. The My Borrower Story, you are free to take this document, chop it up, add to it, delete it, make it a separate document of its own that you could have a scratch pad on your phone as a PDF. You could have it on your desktop. But these are questions that you can ping them for to get more information from them. So in a couple classes we did this year, we talked about frogging them, right? Agents and clients. What does frog mean? Does anybody remember? So if you're going to be creating a relationship, first thing you want to know is know how to frog. Family, recreation, occupation, and goals. So these are things that people want to talk about. These are things that are going to break the ice with them. Then having conversations. The first time home buyer may not be that kid 18 out of high school looking for a full-time job and a house, but we may have to have conversations with them like they are and dummy it down some. Educate them as much as possible, the process. I'll give you guys a prime example. I have a for sale by owner right now that I'm working on. It is a friend of a friend. The dad is selling the house to the daughter and fiance. Now, I have gone through the application. I have gone through the credit. I have gone through even helping them look at the actual loan estimate and structure their contract accordingly with gift of equity. But I have also failed in every time I tell them something, I'm sharing with them the next step, what to do, but I'm not sharing the word next step. That sounds really crazy, right? But to them, then my next thing is they call me and say, okay, where do we go from here? Well, I shared that last night, but I didn't use the word next step. So now every time I have a conversation with them, I share this is our next step. Can you get this to me? Or this is your next step that you have to accomplish and let me know. I mean, as we're going to first-time home buyers, this is as critical to them that you are communicating in a way that is smarter than a fifth grader, right? I mean, we have to really dummy it down and be like, okay, here's where we go, because this is the most important purchase of their life. And they are really in a position where they're either not getting a lot of advice or they're getting too much advice. So educating them could be as much as going through our first-time homebuyer book, our credit score book. It could be just labeling out just a little bit more efficiently what their next steps are and maybe using different words for that. That's why, like when we do the approvals coming back from underwriting, we tell the processors, don't write it exactly how the underwriter wrote it, because we want it to be written so the consumer can read it. Does that make sense? So we want that to look like that. The biggest, we are looking at who is going to be working with them. Asking for referrals even during the process. You can't do that if you're in a position to where they are feeling left out of the process. So if you think about this, everything goes by reviews now. So if you're under review from the first conversation you have to the next conversation, you want to be able to be actually surveyed and reviewed every conversation. So in your mind, you have to take a step back and you have to actually look at how you address the situation. We talked a little bit about this in yesterday's coaching call that we'll send out to as well. As far as identifying objectives and different things. Melissa Murphy had a great call on that a couple months ago. So we'll talk a little bit more on that in just a second. So my borrower story, it goes into as easy as their legal name. So I'm going to pinpoint our new person here on the call today. Billy, welcome. If you want, you can unmute yourself and introduce yourself. And he is going to introduce himself as what? Oh, you're still muted.
Hello, Billy Broyles. I live in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Billy, what is your real name?
William.
So here's where we go in. Billy's going to go in. One other task he has to do is go in and make sure his NMLS has an AKA as Billy. I didn't look at that yet, but he wants to go by Billy. Same as doing an application, because of the fact they're going to put in their name. So Billy's going to do an application with Corrina, and he's going to put in his name as Billy. When he uploads his driver's license, I'm like, holy crap, we pulled credit and he's William, right? So these are things as number one on our borrower story list is what legal name do they want? What legal name do they have and what name do they want to go by? No different than how do they prefer to be contacted? There are so many people that are absolutely okay with being contacted by text right now that they may just only want to communicate by text. So just be cautious there, because I am getting into the point in my older age, if you do a run-on paragraph, and I'm very short and sweet in my emails to you, and we'll have more conversation verbally or even sometimes by text, that if the emails get too long, people aren't going to read them, right? So we do have to be careful with that. But so how do they want to be? What is the name they want to be gone by, and how do they want to be called? A phone, email, or communicated with text. So you guys can go through the borrower's story. So these are things that are actual conversations you should be having, whether they are a first-time home buyer or not a first-time home buyer. Also goes into, do they plan on being in the house for the next 3 to 5 years? Is this a school purchase? And what I mean by school purchase, is this a school purchase for high school? They want to be in a specific high school district. Do they want to be in a specific elementary school district? Or are they brand new parents for the next 5 years? It doesn't matter where they live, that they will eventually move after 5 years because they just needed a house right now, but they don't love the elementary school down the street. So these are absolutely conversations that you can have and put notes in your Arrive, because this is going to ping you on how you're going to follow up with them, even in the future. And right now, we're in the perfect setting up stage for the next 3 years' income for refis, for referrals, for different things. So the more information you write to yourself about who they are and what their goals and dreams are that they want to accomplish in the next 3 years, the more your pocketbook is going to be aligned with how you treat your customers. So, and going future-wise, their financial goals. If they do have financial goals that maybe you need to be aware of, and right now, biggest thing is, I was sitting at the Virginia Bankers Association last week, and then one of the number one complaints is lenders are getting dinged for occupancy issues. So again, we're not having these conversations with them. We don't know what their true goals are. So, and why I brought up the occupancy issue is because I've had my first 2 conversations with people who were probably thinking about being straw buyers again. What I mean by that is being in a position to help someone buy a house, and they are then going to split the equity on the house when it is sold in 6 to 12 months. So we've got all kinds of different things coming back into the market. So just because they may be a first-time home buyer, don't mean that they're also as naive as Corrina puts it to say what they don't know what they're doing. But some just need a lot more hand-holding, a lot more patience. I was on a podcast yesterday with the owner of EPM Wholesale, and one of the things we talked about was in this market, we cannot do knee-jerk reactions, and we have to have the most patience we have ever had. Now, I think it's a market similar to 1995 and 2005, where if I talk to a consumer, I was going to assume that consumer was going to stay my client for the next 6 to 12 months until they found a house. Now, we have been trained in the past 5 years, they're our client for 48 hours. And then we're closing them in 30 days. So that is a whole different mindset on your patience, your communication, and any type of knee-jerk reaction that you may do. For example, if they go get 3 more quotes and you're like, I put in 6 months with them, I'm not going to answer them. But what if you could still win that deal? So these are conversations that come into play in this market as well as for first-time home buyers. So definitely listen first, think about where that patience needs to be granted, and don't make a hesitant knee-jerk reaction to where that may not be somewhere that you could cross that bridge later on and that you've burned that maybe referral base or that relationship. So my borrower story, it has more information in there. And for anybody that doesn't have the workflow, again, we will send it back out to you. Leading into that, the Bankers Association, occupancy fraud is the number one thing people are looking out for right now. One of the investors said, if we are a lender doing a loan, they're telling us they're going to move in, they have no other house. How do we know, like at some point 30, 60 days in, that they are not going to occupy this house, or they occupy it for 60 days with some sleeping bags and blow up beds, and then it becomes an Airbnb? How is the lender on the hook for that? So those are real discussions at Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac right now, because these are issues that are happening. So in investor loans, just so you guys know, as a brokerage, as a lender, I am on the hook for first payment default. I am on the hook for 12-month default. And I am on the hook for anything that is misrepresentation, fraud, money laundering, or deceit. So keep in mind, if you think about this, the investors, I may say, hey, I may cross this gray line just depending on what they're trying to do, but there will be some solid ground behind decisions making that I will say, this is something that our company will not do, that another loan officer may do, because they don't care if their company has to buy back that loan. Okay. We had a loan last month where we had post-closing issue, underwriter cleared everything, and Freddie Mac did a repurchase back to Windsor Mortgage. And we were in a position where we had to clear that. So we will do everything we can to clear those things with the investor. But what if we can't? Now, they found no fault of CMS. The underwriter could have went a little bit deeper. So we got the underwriter some more conditions after the loan had closed, and they sent it to Freddie, and Freddie still didn't love it. At that point in time, I had to have some honest conversations with Windsor and say, okay, at this point, your underwriter felt this was a good enough loan to clear it with what she had. Now, we did get some more information after the fact, and now they want a little bit more. Where does my liability stand? Because I am a good partner with Windsor, and we have been in their top 5 brokers the past couple years, they said, Corrina, this is on us. At this point in time, you have no liability, because the fact that we are going to hold this loan if Freddie does not purchase it. We're going to try one more time, but from there, you guys are off the hook. That doesn't happen every day. In my agreement, it kind of spells out certain things, but there was nothing, I could rebuttal it at any time. But again, why I share this with you is having conversations with people who are even doing investor loans is a big deal, because of the self-employment, because of the income coming into their bank statements, because of anything that could possibly have this loan be a repurchase. So they are looking at investor loans. We did the most investor loans the past 2 years than we've done in years. That has slowed down a little bit because of the LPA, the loan pricing adjustment hits. But so we need, short-term rentals. What are they going to do with it? Biggest thing is we've learned a lot about condos this year. So is it a condo? We need to know the restrictions. We were working on one in Tennessee, and they said it was one investor was buying more than 10% of the units. So that is a big deal. Some investors are going into even new communities. They may not be a Fannie or Freddie eligible if that is the case. Down in Michelle, Lila, and Billy's area in Florida, condos are really huge, and it's a really big problem on their saturation of owner occupancy, short-term rentals, how many tenants are late on their dues, how many are owned in each place as far as by one investor. And the biggest thing is, Kristen just put in the chat, is reserves. Does that condo community have enough for reserves? So as you go into doing investor loans, these are questions you wouldn't know all the way up front to talk to them about. And we're going to get all the way down to spending their money, our money, title and appraisal and everything else to get them to the table. And we probably could have had a few more conversations up front for them. 40-year inspection. Yep. So the inspections on the property. So all these things are coming due for a lot. We even had an issue with one in Virginia on reserves, which is very unusual for us as far as because there's not as much upkeep as some of the other ones in the coastal areas. So short-term rentals, cost of the applications, short and skinny of approval process. Is there a current survey? Okay, so we go into, and I'm not going to really go far into it, but you guys can take this audio back and add to the PowerPoint that Kristen's going to send out. But for short-term rentals, does that agent know enough about the requirements of the short-term rentals in their area? So one of the biggest things is most people do not buy surveys right now, and almost all city, counties, localities, you have to have a survey in order to get it approved as a short-term rental for the county and city. So that's going to be a class for another day. But these are conversations to have with the agents too as well, not to step on their toes and tell them you're doing their job, but just to be in a position just to have conversations and say, hey, do you know the requirements for the area for the short-term rentals because your investor's looking at too? Can we do that together? So short-term rentals is one, and investors, and then construction loans. If you're going to get into construction loans, please take the webinars with the lenders that have the requirements of what's needed on construction loans. Please take 30 minutes set aside with Jennifer, with Sean R., with Anthony, with Emily, and go over what it is in the process of the loan that they would be looking for, because that will help you in your upfront process. Who is handling the construction loans? We are never 100% right and never perfect. And most of the time, we're going to reach out to the agent. And we have been before blasted by an agent saying, what are y'all doing? I don't do any of the construction process. You need to reach out to the builder's person. I told the loan officer this was who they reached out to. But if the loan officer didn't put notes in Arrive who to reach out to, they're going to reach out to the agent, which will then make everybody look bad. Now, there are some agents that like to have that control and want to be involved in that whole process of getting those documentation from the builder or builder's representative. Those are questions that you need to have answered up front to make you look more efficient. And that is what our job is, to support you on the back end too for that. If you're going to go into a construction perm situation, please be very cautious and careful what that looks like. What type of construction perm loan are they trying to do? Are they just trying to do the end piece and the builder finance it? Or are they truly trying to do a real construction perm loan where we're actually financing the draws as well? The system and process for each lender, you have to educate yourself, because that is definitely something that you want to send to an expert on the team, get paid a referral fee versus your commission if you are going to burn that bridge or look bad to that consumer. So you want to absolutely know the process for each lender to do that. And if you're looking at the process for each lender and you go through that, you can absolutely come up with some more ideas and questions through that class to add to this slide of what you can do Q&A up front. And they will absolutely help you as far as that and be grateful for what they're looking for. How did they get comps if they built $1 million house out in BFE on 10 acres of land and there's nothing near there? How, what are they going by? How did they run into these? So those are things to look at. Listing agents. So listing agents should be and could be your number one referral source. We look at them and no one is looking at them that way. The reason why you want to have a conversation with listing agents is you can go on Zillow right now and pull up every new listing that comes up in which areas you want to market. You can call that agent, congratulate them on that listing. You can let them know you are there for a resource for them. And they say, well, I have a lender already, but I'm already sending you this information. And that's great. You have a lender that you work with, but let me see if I can help you out a little bit more, what you can do. So we are finding that a lot of the agents don't know how to do BPOs. So BPOs is a broker price. BPOs are a broker price opinion. In that broker price opinion, back in the day, you got paid, the agent got paid to do comps for the lenders because of the market values. So now, instead of doing a full appraisal on that property, you could do the UWM value estimator, and it works just as great as a BPO. And most of the agents don't know how to do them. So they don't know how to go into their system, pull 6 comparables, compare them to each other, and have it navigate the way they want to. So you could actually go to them and say, hey, I've pulled a value estimator. The house looks right on spot. Have you looked and see these other 2 comps that the appraiser may or may not have? You may want to keep this on hand for when the appraiser comes, because if some reason your value changes up or down, you already have the information and I've given it to you. So you have less work to do. Doesn't mean you're stepping on their toes. You're giving them some added value. What can you ask them for and how can you help them? I mean, so in a way, making a list for them for that listing on utilities, schools, anything that you can pull up to do a nice, fancy, quick and easy Canva flyer that they did not think of or have time to do, they will absolutely be grateful for you. It is Dominion Power, it's Chesapeake Water, it's Cortland High School, Greenbrier Elementary. And I'm telling you what, they will be like, oh my gosh, I guarantee their loan officer didn't do that for them. Every listing agent, you have an opportunity to court them and send them something. It will take 5 to 10 minutes out of your time, but I guarantee they will pay attention to you. Homeowners quotes. Would you like for me to get you a sample of a homeowner's quote? Don't ask, just do it. Get them a sample of a homeowner's quote for that property. So when they get bids in and what they have for someone qualifying, you may become a second opinion for them. Soft credit pulls. We will do all the soft credit pulls for them. So if they want to open house and someone comes in and they don't have any representation, be that representation for them and go ahead and do the soft credit pulls. Create the resource guide. The resource guide could be shopping centers, it could be high schools, it could be utilities. You could actually have a 10 market resource guide in your Canva that all you have to do is plug and play that particular house in that guide once you start building that platform for yourself. And you could court every single listing agent on Zillow. Again, this is your time. What are you going to get back from it once you do this with them? So there's so many things. The iPhone tricks that Kristen showed us yesterday. Some of those things, if someone's coming into there, do they have documentations they're bringing with them that the agent could scan? Can you show the agent those things? Can you show the agent how to save more things on their phone? It's every way of communicating with the listing agents there is. Partnering up with a builder or mover for that house itself, a home warranty company, anything that we could show that you are adding value to them for the listing. There's so much we could court on the listing side. So here is the AVM from UWM, which they love the look of it, the feel of it, and it absolutely will, it could be 7 to 12 pages, and it can actually be interactive. Hey, Mr. Agent, I have these 6 here that it comes with it. Do you know of another one that you would like for me to plug in? And they're like, you can do that as a loan officer? Yes, I have a system to do that with. And they will get you to do it versus them do it all the time. I forget, Kristen, did you just ask me or did someone else ask me too, as far as doing the AVMs for them? Maybe it was Chelsea, but there was a couple people just this past week said the agents were asking them, are they eligible to do it? So again, a lot of these agents don't know any differently than what they've been told. So be an asset to them. And what can you do to think outside the box of what value you can bring? So Kristen's going to send this PowerPoint over to you guys for you to take a look at. anything else that you want to add to it or you want to share with us on the 4 key target markets, I believe will be the next 18 months that will solidify your referral sources for the next actually 3 years. So think about these things, think about anything that you can add to it. And welcome, Billy. We're glad to have you. He's in sunny Florida, so good weather down there. Does anybody have any questions for me? Anybody at all?
Hey, Corrina, going back to what you said about Canva and being able to plug it in and get to all the real estate agents, is that something that we can get together on and show how to do that quickly?
Yeah, if y'all want to do another class on that, absolutely. Let's do. Because what you do is just pick out like 3 markets in your area. Let's say you're going to have one in Stafford. If you're going to do it and you want to do all of Stafford, then you might have 5. You might have, go by. In my mind, I'm looking at high schools. What's the high school district for this? And then you get to utilities. Mostly you're just changing out the high school. You're just changing out the schools because the utilities are almost mostly the same, not always, but mostly except for the county they are in or city they're in. And then the shopping center, nearest hotel for family, best Mexican restaurant, Italian restaurant, pizza place. These are things that you would put together and pick out your 5 target markets and then put together like a sample Canva one. So I can definitely, so Jeff, today go in, look and see if you can Google one. I'm going to challenge you this. Look and see if you can Google something like that. What is going to be an agent guide for area. And then what I'd like for you to do is go in and make a marketing request for that in our marketing portal. Ask them to put that together, but you are going to have to give them the notes of what you want on it. So do you want like a Cortland High School, the middle school, and then the utility? So I say high school, middle school, elementary school, nearest shopping center, nearest Italian restaurant, a Mexican pizza. Those are things that people love to know about. Water, electric, cable, of course, internet's there, maybe security, if there's something that you want to put on there for security. And just think about, what I mean? Think about what would go into just one and put in a marketing request for that. Let's see what they come up with. Let them know you want it on a Canva template so we can share. And then what you would do is go in and we will share that with everybody and we will then share. And between that and the UWM estimator and putting together a nice email to them with a phone call, there's no way you shouldn't be a marketing listing agent. Moving company, did I say that?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Billy, you're going to say something?
Just a real quick question. You said frogging earlier. I like it, but I forgot what the acronym means before I wrote it down. I've got family, recreation, goals, but I don't know what the O is.
Occupation.
All
right.
Thank you.
Yep. So family, you talk about their family, talk about their school, their kids, where, the reason for being there. Recreation, what do they love to do? Do they ride, do motorcycles, do they RV, do they swim? So those are things that as you also go into talking to buyers. So think about this. We don't sometimes put it into this market. We don't take a step back because we're in the market. So taking a step back, Jeff, what you're going to ask the marketing company to do, what the marketing department to do to put together a Canva template for all of us. Think about this. Why can't you use that same template for every buyer you're talking to? Say, which area are you looking in? Are you looking in the Cortland School District area? I have something I'd like to show you. And you've already brought them another value that you already gave to listing agents. So that's something you can use for them too as well. So they know they're looking at, whether they're familiar with the area or not, you're giving it to them as value. Oh, this is great, right? We want to be providing value. And that's what we're doing. So then occupation is how long do they plan on being on the job? What does it look like for career changes? My first time home buyers, one of them is going into a career change. Is it an income difference? Do they have to wait 30 days on the job? Is it FHA? Is it not FHA? What is it? Those things. And then their goals. And that goes into, is this a financial purchase, or is this a goal purchase for investment later on? I tell everybody, the last thing I'll leave you with, my first time home buyers, when you come to me, you have a whole piece of the pie. I'm going to split it in half, and you're going to have half is going to be emotional, which you are already doing. You're on Zillow, you're on your agent's portal, you're attached to the house, you're going out there and you're dreaming. The other half is investment, not an investment purchase that you're going to rent out, but investment. You are going to be glued to me, and we're going to go over everything. It's going to feel like I'm pulling your DNA and everything else, but this is an investment. So now you have to be invested on continuing this process through. So I get that part. That's the more taxing part than the glorious HGTV part, but we're going to all partner together to get you there. So I kind of go into that spiel with them. So it would be great to show them a little bit more warm and fuzzy on our end, like the schools, the restaurants, how to get their utilities hooked up. These are all things that agents used to give to them that they don't now either. So if we do it for them, we look like the heroes and also give some value on the agents. And think about things that the other loan officers aren't providing. Everybody's starting to go to open house. Everybody's dropping off stuff. But what can you truly bring a value to them? I think listing agent should be your number one resource. But how do you bring value to them? And we'll go into more detail as you guys think about this and kind of review the PowerPoint. Kristen will